Genders Games, haha!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gin here with another League of Legends champion guide. I think we can all agree that most of the champions of the game are pretty skilled with their weapon of choice, but I think it takes even more skill to adapt to any situation, to use whatever's at hand. Hockey sticks, fishing poles, lanterns, or even a cardboard tube? Only one man has that kind of skill, and it's Jax, the Grand Master at Arms. Join me now, and let's learn how to Jax. Jax is an extremely flexible fighter and the quintessential melee hypercarry. That is to say, he has a fairly fragile early game, but the longer the game goes, the stronger he gets, to the point of being nigh unstoppable in the right hands. He's quite simple to play, but with his many build options and focus on positioning and timing, he can take quite a lot of work to master. You'll most commonly find Jax in the top lane, where he can farm and trade his way to omnipotence, but he can also jungle reasonably well too. Jax's passive is Relentless Assault. Each attack spurs on the next, increasing his attack speed for a few seconds. This can stack up to 6 times, ensuring that the longer a fight goes, the more of a threat Jax becomes. The amount of attack speed he gets from each stack increases with level, adding to his scaling potential. As simple as it is, it has excellent synergy with some of his other abilities, so we'll mention it again later. The Grandmaster's Q is a leap strike. Just as the name suggests, Jax jumps toward a target unit and, if it's an enemy, he deals physical damage to it that scales with both his attack damage and his ability power. And yes, I did say he can leap to any unit. Allies, minions, monsters, thresh lanterns, Teemo shrooms, even wards. The last one can be particularly important, and we'll come back to it in a bit. Leap Strike is great for hopping in and out of fights, and of course for a fantastic bit of burst damage. In most cases, where you've got a melee bruiser lane, you'll grab your first point at level 2 and max it out second. But against ranged foes, or those with lots of dashes or flashes, max it out first for the shorter cooldown and stronger burst. One reason Jax is so good with any weapon? It doesn't matter what you're wielding when you can empower it. Jax's W causes his next basic attack, or his next leap strike, to deal bonus magic damage that scales with his ability power. It also resets your attack timer, letting him get an extra strike in immediately after his last to start stacking up his Relentless Assault faster, as well as the passive on his ultimate. With a super short cooldown, cheap mana cost, and high consistent damage, Empower is usually the ability of choice to max out first. As mentioned with Leap Strike, this is particularly true with melee bruiser lanes, where you'll probably get to use it multiple times in one fight. Max it out second though when doing Leap Strike first. Enemies like Kassadin and Zed, who can just dash away, make the damage from Empower much less of a threat. Either way, you should usually take your first point at level 3 after you've gotten your other 2 more utility-focused abilities. Back in the day, there used to be a stat in League of Legends called Dodge. Jax's E, Counter-Strike, is the final refuge of that long-forgotten ability. When activated, for up to 2 seconds, Jax dodges all basic attacks directed his way, and takes 25% less damage from area of effect abilities. At the end of the duration, or if you activate the ability again to end it early, he stuns all nearby enemies for 1 second and deals physical damage to them that scales with attack damage. The damage is increased by 20% for each attack dodged up to 100%, effectively doubling the damage. The damage is nice, of course, but the important parts are the dodge and the stun. This significantly increases his effectiveness in a fight, letting him stun many opponents at once and ignore damage for a full 2 seconds. You have to be very careful when you use it though, as its cost is high and its cooldown is long, making misplays with it potentially very costly. Thanks to the cost and the cooldown, as well as the fact that the stun doesn't increase with level, we'll generally max this one out last, but almost always take a point in it at level 1. It adds safety, especially with level 1 teamfights, and allows us to pull off a trick that we'll go into a bit later. Once he hits level 6, Jax decides to flex his mighty muscles at last, and show off his Grandmaster's might. This ultimate has 2 parts. Passively, it causes his every 3rd attack to deal bonus magic damage that scales with his ability power. That's active at all times, mind you, so combine this with Relentless Assault and Empower for tons of damage. And, if that weren't enough, when activated, Jax becomes super beefy for 8 seconds, gaining bonus armor and magic resistance. Those bonuses scale as well, the armor scaling with his attack damage, and the magic resist scaling with his ability power. Yes, that's right, he gets harder to kill the more damage he does. Considering this lasts for the duration of most fights, a late game Jax is terrifyingly powerful. Take a point in this one every chance you can. For summoner spells, we can always count on Flash as a useful option. Teleport is a popular choice for the top lane, letting you make plays across the map even though you're normally far away. Taking Ignite instead ensures a stronger presence in lane, just less ability to help your allies. Ghost is also an option to replace Flash, since his Q is a built-in flash, good for split pushing. And of course, if you're jungling, take Smite. Both runes and masteries are pretty straightforward. Take attack damage marks, scaling armor seals, scaling magic resistance glyphs, and attack speed quintessences. This will give both a reasonably powerful presence in lane and let you scale even harder as the game progresses. Those scaling runes start matching up with the normal ones at level 6, just in time for your first real power spike from your ultimate. Go 21-9-0 for damage and of course some more tankiness in the masteries. There is some variety here too though. While an attack damage focus is standard, many like to add in some bonus ability power since almost all of his abilities benefit from it. Now for items. Jax can honestly build whatever he wants and still be successful. AD, AP, full tank, whatever. Just respond according to what the enemy is doing and you'll be good to go. That being said, there is still a standard build that we can talk about. To start off, I usually recommend a Doran's Blade, but you can also start with a Doran's Shield or Crystalline Flask if you need to be more defensive. And you'll always want to get a Ward Trinket. Now I know that's pretty standard for most champions at level 1, but since Jax can use this to hop about with Leap Strike, it's extra useful. The first major item that one usually will rush for is Trinity Force. Trinity Force gives you all the things! More damage, more defense, more chasing power, and that Sheen proc works fantastically with his short cooldown spells. Usually, one would grab the Phage first for more health and chasing power, but if you're winning the lane hard, a Sheen could be a good choice for further face smashing. The other main damage item to grab is Blade of the Ruined King. Damage, lifesteal, attack speed, and a huge buff for chasing on the active? What more could you want? You'll often see pros finishing the Cutlass portion of this before completing their Trinity Force if they need some more sustain. Speaking of sustain, another fairly common weapon for Jax is the Hextech Gunblade. Lifesteal, Spell Vamp, and another slow? No one's escaping from a Jax if he has all 3 of these. Usually, however, unless you're doing really well, I'd recommend grabbing the first 2 and start transitioning into items that make you tankier. And even your boots can make you tankier with Jax. Grab either Mercury Treads or Ninja Tabi, depending on what the enemy team is bringing to the party. In fact, the rest of these all depend on what you think you'll need to be defending against, but take your pick from Randuin's Omen, Guardian Angel, Banshee's Veil, Warmog's Armor, Spirit Visage, Zerat Portal, Frozen Heart, and Sunfire Cape. Yes, I did just basically name every defense item. What of it? Now, if you're wanting to build Jax as an AP champion, you can of course grab the usual Rabadons and all that jazz, but in particular, I just want to make special note of 2 items, Nashor's Tooth and Lichbane. These synergize extremely well with his kit, ramping up his attack speed and proccing on his spells much like Trinity Force and Blade of the Ruined King do for the AD equivalent. Keep these in mind. Lastly, if you're jungling, the same rules will generally apply. If you can get away with it on your jungling item, I'd recommend getting the Devourer enchantment to let him scale even more, but if not, the Juggernaut is a fantastic choice. Now, you may remember we mentioned that Jax has a fairly fragile early game. This is true. He still can do lots of damage and snowball into forever, but he can equally be bullied out of the game with sufficient poke or better trading. Let's start off by skipping past that weakness at level 1 though, shall we? It's a popular trick nowadays for some top laners who have teleport to take out a jungle camp before warping to their lane, and Jax is one of the best at it. Any camp will give you level 2, so take one that your jungler isn't going to use anytime soon, recall to grab some extra potions or an award, and head back up to the top lane. You'll appear usually just as they hit level 2 as well, so no time lost, roughly the same amount of gold if you were quick enough, and now you have the advantage of extra sustain. Clearing the raptors, for example, is a cinch with Counter-Strike. You might get a little low on health, but you'll come out having totally avoided fights at your weakest level. From here, laning phase is all about farming and trading as efficiently as you can. Whenever you feel the time is right, jump your opponent, stun them, bash them a few times, and retreat before they have a chance to reciprocate. Keep in mind your opponent's abilities as you do, of course. If they have some form of crowd control, be prepared to avoid it, or go in only when it's down. The same goes for if they have some kind of escape, though in that case the answer is most often to max your Q first, letting you front load your damage rather than rely on them being in range to hit repeatedly. Once you hit level 6, try to keep the bonus damage in mind. It's always on the third hit, so try to hit minions twice perhaps before jumping your opponent. Then you get that bonus damage immediately. And activate it if you need to. In a longer engagement, all that extra armor and magic resistance will do a lot to keep you alive. And when your teleport's up, if you have it, don't be afraid to use it. You might not be winning lane, but a gank down bottom might be the thing to turn it around for you. With that area of effect stun and his leap strike to keep up, Jax is a fantastic ganker. After laning phase, you can certainly show up to team fight with the rest of your team, and Jax does a great job of that. Activate Counter-Strike, leap in, and start pounding your foes while they're still stunned. If you worry about dying, you can always leap right back out. Jax is also a fantastic split pusher though, and that's often something you'll want to do. Just a few items make him very effective at taking towers, enough that it will often distract more than one of your enemies. And if you do get in trouble, well, Jax is great at escaping too. His kit is just kind of great at everything, isn't it? Leap away to a minion or a ward and stun them if need be. And the more you split push, the more gold and experience you'll have backing you up when you do join the team, a terrifying vision in purple. Jax is a fantastically powerful fighter and a beefy brawler. Land your stuns and win your trades, and you'll lead your team to victory. So, thanks for watching everyone. If you've enjoyed this guide, please let me know by hitting the like button. Speak up in the comments below if you have advice or questions. We're all here to learn. Subscribe for future stuff like guides, gameplay, and general silliness. Follow me on Twitch for streams and Twitter and Facebook to see what else is going on. Till next time, I've been Gin, and you've been watching me talk about a video game. Now, come at me!
Who wants a piece of the champ? Surprise! I'm back.
It's the grandest grandmaster of lanes, smashing in brains. Gold overflows like capital gains, irrational prey. Stand up, get whacked in the face. You know I'm blowing out champs like classical games or candles on cakes. No birthdays after tonight, you're losing a fight. Bruise getting blue in the eyes, a meteor style, meteoric rise. I'm so live, I see 9 other champs on the red 5 about to die. No lie, blink and you'll miss a play. Ruin your year like a Z on picture day.